This is Keith Elwig. Whether you're a correctional officer or a police officer, there are certain things you're going to hear during the course of your career multiple times. As a correctional officer, if you're a regular officer, as soon as you tell somebody to do something, you're going to hear the other officers don't enforce that rule. Or if you're a utility filling in for a regular officer, you're going to hear the regular officers don't make us follow that rule. Now, I'll be willing to bet there isn't a correctional officer out there who hasn't heard that said to them in one way, form, or manner, which leads you to the conclusion that the lamest officers on the face of the earth are regular officers if you're a utility officer, or if you're a regular officer, the lamest officers on the face of the earth are the utility officers. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you're a utility officer or if you're a regular officer. If it's a rule, if it's a policy, if it's a procedure, you should be enforcing it. And 99 times out of 100, those inmates know the handbook better than you do. So if they say they didn't know it was a rule, well, you just educated them. That's just one of the things that you're bound to hear if you're a correctional officer. I didn't know that was a rule. You're going to hear that. There again, it's in the handbook. They know it's a rule, but they're playing a game. As a police officer, it's kind of a different can of worms. Whenever I pull somebody over for speeding, I always inform them that they're speeding. I don't know how many times I've heard the line, "Well, I'm not from here, I didn't realize that was the speed limit." Even though they're 30 feet away from a speed limit sign right in front of them, or 100 yards away from a speed limit sign behind them, you're going to hear, "I didn't know that was a speed limit." Another thing you're going to hear, and I'm sure there's not a police officer out there who hasn't heard this when they've stopped someone who is apparently intoxicated. You can smell the intoxicant, you can see it in their eyes, you can hear it in their speech. You ask them, "How much did you have to drink?" Now, I'm going to give you a second to answer that. "Sir, have you been drinking today?" And they're going to say yes. And you're going to say, "How much did you have to drink?" What are they going to say? Time's up. I'll bet you every officer out there answered the same thing. Oh, 2 or 3. 2 or 3. Okay. Maybe they mean 2 or 3 shots. Maybe they mean 2 or 3 glasses. Maybe they mean 2 or 3 pitchers. Or 2 or 3 pints. But it's always 2 or 3. I recall one time where I stopped an individual for speeding, and I asked him, "How much have you had to drink?" He was driving down a state highway, 11:30 at night, without his headlights on. When I pulled him over and told him I pulled him over for having no headlights on, his first comment was, "My lights are on." I said, "No, they're not." He reached over, hit the switch, and said, "Well, I'll be damned." I asked him, "Have you been drinking?" He said, "Yes, I have." I said, "How much have you had?" And guess what he said? "I had 2 or 3. Or 16, 17, or 18. It's kind of hard to tell when you've been drinking since 10 o'clock in the morning. So at least he was honest with me about that. He blew a .27, so he was pretty well intoxicated. As officers, whether in behind the walls or on the road, you're going to hear a lot of the same things. You're going to hear a lot of the same BS. You're going to hear a lot of the same stories. The thing to remember is, as an officer, whether behind the walls or whether behind the wheel, is you are out there to do a job. Don't let them dissuade you from doing your job. Don't let the tears of a young lady dissuade you from doing your job. Don't let the threats from a thug sway you from doing your job. We have a job to do, and it's a job we should all be proud of. Thank you, and if you like my videos, please subscribe. Stay safe and watch your back.